All right. Let's see. One other thing. Get rid of my son's. So I'm actually in my son's room due to the best internet in the house being here. So, okay. Welcome to CSE 313 System Administration. We're going to find out some interesting stuff today just because this course is going to rely heavily on my ability to show you examples, especially from I'm going to be running a virtual machine that's going to run CentOS, that's a Linux distribution. So we'll see how well that works with being on a live meeting at the same time as trying to share screens with a virtual machine. So there's going to be a lot going on my end. So we'll see how well Microsoft Teams can handle this. All right. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and get right into it. I'll go ahead and let's see, share PowerPoint. Let's see. There we go. All right, so what you should be seeing right now is my screen, the PowerPoint slides for the introduction here. As of right now, I'm not going to have a lot of slides to share, and you'll see why. What we're going to do is we're going to rely on a student workbook that's a Red Hat system administration course. So there's going to be a lot of material we're pulling from there. So I'll show you what that is. I'll show you how to get connected to those resources during this lecture, during this class. But basically, we're just going to intro the class, go over the syllabus. I'll direct you to some resources and materials that I'll want you to have access to for this course, and then we will actually call it a day pretty early. So let's go ahead and just look at the introduction here, syllabus. So all this material should be on the syllabus. Also, you should have access to a PDF of the syllabus document, as well as these slides that I'm looking at right now. So officially, this course meets in BZ or BZ if you're not an American English speaker. 01 on Fridays at 8:30. If it is okay with everyone here, I would like to actually start the class at 9:30 due to some scheduling stuff that dealing with getting my kids out for school and stuff like that. The graduate version of this course is actually slotted at 9:30 to 12:30. So I think that would be okay for us to just make this a 9:30 start time, if that's okay with everyone else in the course. It means we're less likely to get out early, but it also means that you don't have to wake up as early as well. So if there's any problems with that, please let me know. If you have a particular need to what's the word? If you have a particular need to have this class at 8:30, just let me know. We'll figure out what works. All right. I am your instructor, Joseph Leday. Many of you have had me in other courses before, so you know where I am, you know where my office is, you know how to get in touch with me. So I have office hours listed there. And I know some of you are not here in Antalya, so whether or not I'm in the office or not, it's not really going to make a difference to your ability to get in touch with me. So what I'm going to do is I do plan on being in the office pretty regularly, but for those of you especially that we want to also make sure that we're very aware and cautious about practicing social distancing and being aware of staying healthy and stuff. So what I'm going to do is whenever I announce what my office hours are, what that will mean is that will be hours that I'm not going to schedule anything else. Like I'm not going to have any other meetings. I'm not going to have other things that I need to be doing. And so you know that you can get a hold of me. You can either we can either do a face-to-face on Teams or Zoom or something like that, or or however else, or I may actually be in the office and when you can come by, or however it is that is convenient and good for you. Okay. My email address is there. As many of you know, my policy, what I try to do is if you email me, I try to get back in touch with you, try to get a response to you within 24 hours business day. So what that means is that if you were to email me at, say, 12 o'clock noon on a Monday, I will make every effort, and 99% of the time we'll get back to you no later than the next day, Tuesday at 12 o'clock. What that also means, though, is that if you email me on Friday afternoon, I might not be able to get back to you until Monday. Okay, so especially is important to know for when there's assignments due and stuff like that. I have had in the past had students who have emailed me at like 11:30 at night for about that was due at midnight that same night with all these questions, and I didn't get the email till the next morning when I woke up because I've got a family, I've got a wife and 3 kids, as many of you know, and they like to wake up super early, and so we have to get to bed at a reasonable time. So just make sure that if you need a response by a certain day, keep that in mind. If you need a response by a certain time or day, to get to me early. Okay. All right. So the purpose of this course, that's where we're here. Okay. So the purpose of this course is to provide basically enough knowledge to install a server operating system. It's about being able to manage an existing system, and not just one computer, but it can be a network of computers as well. So you're not going to be able to, at the end of this course, go and take a job as a system administrator somewhere, but you will know the basics so that you could talk to a system administrator and be able to speak their language, so to speak. You would be able to understand a lot of the key terms and a lot of understandings about how things work in a system, including user privileges and how to copy files in bulk and just different kinds of things like that, and control access. This is really important, the controlling the access. This actually is really important for things like this classroom environment, because let's say if every student in this class had total access to the files, let's say the slide files or something like that, the PowerPoint files, then any of you could edit the slides and make them say whatever you wanted them to say, right? And so we want to be able to control that. We want to be able to make sure that only I, as the teacher of this course, have access to be able to do those things. But we also want to make sure that all of you have access to see the files, right? And this is all kind of important for things that we want to be able to do. All right. So there is a book, this Red Hat System Administration Student Guide. I'll show you how to get access to that. This one, the Student Administration Guide, is not free on the Red Hat site. You can gain access to it with a cost. The HTML resources, which basically is all of the stuff in here minus a few things like the quizzes, but the HTML resources will be plenty for your purposes for this course, and they are free. So you can get access to this and with no cost. All right. So okay. The fact that you are all on this call means that you know that you need to be a part of this team, because you wouldn't be on this call if you weren't on this team. But I do want to go ahead and put this out here for any students that are not currently assigned to this team. A previous quarter, another class I taught this week, there were students that did not join, were not able to join the team until after even the lecture was over and after the video was done. So we will go ahead and record this. I am recording this now. I am recording this now. And so we are going to post this to the MicroStream for this course. So you should be able to have access to this lecture and any other subsequent lectures throughout the semester. Okay. One thing I do want to make a note here is that it is your responsibility to check frequently for updates. Don't come the day before, don't come to me the day before an assignment is due and say, oh, I didn't know anything about this, even though I had assigned it a week prior, right? It is your responsibility. This is a third-year course. You guys are third-year students. Even if you were first-year students, I would still tell you that you are adults, right? Many of you may be unexpectedly living at home with your parents again because of this whole pandemic thing. But regardless, you don't have mom and dad holding your hand, reminding you to do your homework and check your assignments and go to class and stuff like that. It is your responsibility to be able to do those things. Okay, so I expect that you will, and so that's good. All right, let's see. As far as grading for you guys, there will be assignments, frequent assignments given. There won't be a ton of them. Like there's not gonna be like one assignment every week or anything like that. But there will be a number of assignments for you to do that will represent 30% of your grade. The midterm exam, 30% of the final, 40%. I will go ahead and change this. I'm gonna call this tentative because due to the Uzake attempt, due to the distance learning nature of this, I'm not positive how midterm and final exams are going to be done. So this may be subject to change. So I would like to keep it this way, but we'll just have to see what ends up happening with the university requirements regarding assignments, regarding midterm exam and final exam. Okay. For those of you who are watching this, who are the graduate students in this course, the graduate students will also have the lectures at the same time for this course. They'll be joining this. There is another part of your grading that will be presentations, and so our grad students, what they're going to do is they're going to do some research, and they're going to give some presentations based on the research that they've done for some field related to system administration, and so they'll have another graded part here. And a heads up, maybe a reclam, if you will. Those of you who are undergraduate students, one of your assignments will be to report on the presentation that are now at all or watch the video. Obviously, because some of you may live in places or have reasons that you will not be able to attend as frequently as if we were in face-to-face classes. Obviously, I'm not going to take attendance, but I do expect that you would understand that being on discussions and asking questions and answering questions and listening to the lectures is important and essential for learning the material. So if you miss a class, if you aren't able to be here live, it is your responsibility to watch the video, to watch the recorded video on the Microsoft Stream server. Okay, and if you don't understand something, please ask questions. I don't understand everything. No one understands everything, but you must ask questions if you don't know. Here in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you a story that many of you have probably heard before, but just as a reminder of why asking our own questions and not just letting someone else do stuff for us is really important. the learning process. All right. Okay, so we are going to have a homework assignment. We may or may not have a group project as part of our homework assignments. I'll look into that. I'm still deciding on that. But all the homework assignments, as usual, as per my normal policy, you need to, if it's due at midnight, which is normally when I'm going to make an assignment due, if you miss the deadline, if you turn it in at 1 o'clock in the morning, right, an hour late, it's considered a day late, right, and you will lose 10% for each day that it's late. And if it's 2 days, or if it's more than 2 days late, then we just won't take it at all, okay? Because one of the things that I want to be able to do is I want to be able to give you feedback in a timely manner. So I want to be able to give you feedback very quickly after you give me the homework, if you turn in the homework. But I can only do that if everyone in the class turns it in a timely fashion. So if you don't turn it in after 2 days, we just won't take it. All right. So assuming that we have exams as normal, some type of written exam, the plan will be for them to be open notes and book. I mean, obviously, if we have some type of online exam, we couldn't make it any other way. But there will be no makeup if you missed the midterm for whatever reason. You'll need some type of university approved excuse. And then, as always, final exam will be comprehensive. Final exam will cover everything. So midterm will cover everything up to the midterm. Final exam will cover everything from the whole course. Okay. I don't want to get too much into this, but basically, if you guys, we all want to be engineers, and one of the main things about, for me, one of the main things about what makes an engineer is that we don't take credit for someone else's work. Okay, so if you get caught cheating, it could be, and it could go both ways, right? It could be that you let someone copy off of you. You could be copying off of someone else. Either way, it doesn't matter which side you're on. It's going to be the same discipline. Okay. We do want you to discuss things. We don't want you to feel like you can't talk with each other. Talk with me. Talk with each other if you don't understand things. Talk with, if some of you have have had an internship or have worked in maybe the Techno-Kent or something like that. If you know a system administrator, or if you know people who have done stuff in that field, and talk with them to get ideas and to help yourself understand this stuff better. But there is a line that we sometimes cross where we're tempted to have someone else do the work and we turn it in as if we had done it, okay? And that's the line that we can't cross. All right. So make sure you don't, and then we won't, if you guys don't do anything like that, then I won't have to discipline you, and then we'll all just have a good time. So let's just do it that way. All right. So this is basically the idea for how, again, this is also, maybe I should do this again too, this tentative. Also here, right? So basically this is the plan. Okay, so we'll do today. We will. This is introduction today. We'll also. I'll introduce you to the command line. I don't want to do too much because you don't have, many of you don't have access to a Linux distribution. You haven't downloaded it yet. You haven't installed it. So therefore, I don't want to get too much into this since you don't have. Some of you don't have the tools to be able to follow along and do it yourself. Right, so I don't want to get too much into that, but I do want to at least introduce it. Right, so then this is this week. Then we'll have 2 more weeks of lectures as usual, and then there's a holiday, the Republic Day holiday. I know that's actually the day before that, but it's a Thursday, and I don't think any of you are going to want to have class on a Friday the day after a holiday. So, so what we'll do is we won't have class that day. Okay. And then we'll continue on after that. So this is the tentative midterm week here. So basically everything from here up is going to be covered as part of the midterm. and then all of this will be considered as part of the final. Okay. So some important notes. Make sure you keep up with the course. Okay. Don't think that you're going to just skip and not listen to the lectures and just, not do anything for the first 3 weeks. And then you're going to have this Republic Day holiday, kind of like a New Year's resolution, and say, oh, I'm not really going to focus and get caught up, and then think that you're going to watch all the classes and do all the assignments and try to do that. That I can tell you. That not work out. Some of you have heard this as some of our other kids, but when he was in a Turkish school a few years ago, there was like a quiz or something. I don't remember the details, but there was something where he needed to answer some questions based on his Turkish vocabulary. And he asked the girl next to him, he said, for this homework assignment or whatever, he asked the girl, like, can you explain, I want to know this, can you explain this to me? And now I don't know whether he let her or not, because he didn't tell me that part. But that is he going to learn Turkish that way? Is he going to learn Turkish if he lets someone else answer the questions for him on his vocabulary quiz? And I'm hoping that many of you are back there with your muted mics saying to yourself, no, he's not going to learn Turkish that way. And you're right, he won't learn Turkish that way, because he needs to do it himself. He needs to be able to also get things wrong and learn from those mistakes. That's how I'm learning Turkish, right? I'm still working at it, right? But the way that I learn is by saying things wrong and having someone tell me, hey, you said that wrong, this is the correct way to say it, right? But if I don't say it, if I don't speak it, if I don't write it and try, then I can't learn from my mistakes. Okay. As part of this particular situation for this course, I have this partial credit as your friend. The same thing kind of applies as far as this is concerned. Is I know many of you in this class, but the easiest thing for me to grade, it's the easiest grade for me to give. What I'm asking you to do is I'm asking you to make my grading my job. I don't know if many professors would ask you to do that. I don't think any of my professors ever asked me to do that. But I'm asking you to make my job harder by not allowing me to give easy grades, okay? Because if you answer a question, even if you're wrong, even if you don't have it 100% right, I can at least look at it and say, well, he tried, she showed that she understood this part of the question, and I can give you some type of partial credit, right? If you get a 0, you can't pass. If you get some points, you have a chance, okay? So again, make my job harder and make your life easier, all right? This is what I'm asking you to do. All right. So this week, last slide on this set of slides. All right. This week, you need to install a Linux distribution. Now, the material for this course is going to be based on the Red Hat System Administration course, the Red Hat Academy System Administration course. So a lot of it is going to be specific. Some of it, not a lot. Some of it, it's going to be specific to Red Hat Linux. CentOS is kind of like a version of Red Hat. It's basically it's Red Hat but without the support. So Red Hat, if you download and install that, you can install the distribution for free, but to get the support you have to pay for that. CentOS is basically like it's a similar thing, but you just don't have the support for it. Okay. If you're not sure if if you're not a Linux user and you don't plan on being a Linux an only Linux user, you may want to consider running a virtual machine. Virtualbox.org is one. It's the one that I'm going to be using. So I will be running this on a virtual machine for you to see how to do that. Okay. And then finally, you can use this link to register for Red Hat resources. That would include the student guide booklet. It would also include the student resources, HTML resources. Okay, so let me stop sharing this. All right, and now what I want to do, let's see, do we have any questions? Okay, so you guys wrote this like a while back. Is there still a problem going on? Sorry, I didn't see all these messages. So it's like off and on. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we'll see if it's also doing it on the recording. Okay, so you're running like on a MacBook or a MacBook Air, something like that. Uh, just like if you were running a Windows machine, you can be running a Mac machine. A lot of the, what's the word? A lot of the concepts we're going to be talking about, you can do on any computer. All right. It's just a matter of uh, specifically the commands used. For example, how to show the contents of a folder or a directory line is going to be different between Linux, Mac, and Windows. Okay, so the commands that we're going to show you, the commands that we're going to use are specific to, and in fact, some of it's even specific to Red Hat Linux, or CentOS Linux, and so like Ubuntu is going to be different, and some of the other ones are going to be different from. So. You should. I would. What I'm like I said. What I'm going to be using is I'm going to be using a virtual box, a virtual machine. That's my plan. So, but we'll see how that works because, like you guys were saying, there's kind of some freezing going on. Seems to be somewhat of a not great network quality. It says. So I may have to figure out what's the issue with that. And it may even get worse if we try to do this on a virtual machine. So. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll have to take a look at that. We'll have to figure that out. All right. Let's see how well this works with me. Not the virtual box. I want to show you the other stuff first. I want to see, where are you? Let's see. I'm going to show you this here. Okay. Let me share. All right, is this back? Let's see. Let's see if this works. Okay. Let's see if this works better. Okay. So hopefully what you're seeing now is okay, so this is what you're going to get to. Look at the link that I have in the slides. Okay, what you're going to do is you're going to come to here. Okay, and then you just kind of fill this information out and you want to register. And then what'll happen is I will get an email that says that that allows you to get access to the resources. So that will give you a chance to come into here. Okay. So once you fill this out and click submit and I approve it, which I will, as soon as I get the email, then you're going to come over here and you'll log into the web store and you want to go to this web store here and you have access to like lots of different types of products. So you want to go under Red Hat. Okay. And you want to go under System Admin 1. If you want to get the instructor guide, go for it. But what you're looking for is the participant stuff, the participant guide. Okay, they don't have it in English. I'm sorry, they don't have it in Turkish, unfortunately. But if you know any of these other languages better than English, go for it. You can have it. All right. And so here's what you can get. Now, you can order a printed manual, but I can tell you that the shipping on that costs more than the manual itself. So you'll end up spending over $100 just for this if you get the printed one. You can buy the ebook for $50, and that's not cheap. I understand that, but that's the ebook. But again, the HTML resources, I've looked at it. I've looked at the comparison between the HTML and the student guide, and it's almost the same thing. There's only a few things that this has that this doesn't have access to. All right. So what you'll do is you take one of those and you order it. Okay. So I'm not going to walk you through all of this, right? So you can go ahead and order that. You'll get a license code that then will give you access to this. Okay. If it'll ever come up. Let me see how you guys are. Okay. So then it'll come up here, right? So once you fill in the license code, it'll come here, and this is the HTML resources. So this is what you're going to be looking at. Okay. So the plan is for today is to go through parts of chapter 1 to be able to help you understand how to access the command line. Okay. So the plan is to go through this, assuming that there's no big problems with that. Okay. We'll talk a little bit about how to use the command line stuff here. Okay. So I want you to go ahead and get access to these HTML resources. If you want, where is it? There it is. If you want to order that ebook, feel free. I can tell you that it's expensive, right? $50 is not cheap, and that's US dollars, and so it's not cheap, and you only get to have access to it on the main site, on the main Red Hat site for like a year. So obviously, if you don't have the ability to do that, I'm not requiring it. So, but the HTML resources will be plenty. Okay. All right. So that's how you get access to that. Let me go ahead and stop sharing for this, because what I want to do is I want to, we'll see how well this works. All right. what we're going to do is I'm going to show you this virtual box thing. Okay. All right. So as you'll see, I have both Red Hat and CentOS as two different virtual machines on my computer. This is the one that I used last year when I taught this course. This is a new installation of CentOS. So we'll see. So all the different virtual machine tools like this virtual box, and there's a few others out there. They all kind of operate a little bit differently, so I won't go into too many details on this one. But you set this up as a new distribution, download from the CentOS or Red Hat or whatever. If you want to use Ubuntu, if you want to use something else, feel free. You want to download the ISO from there, and you want to be able to install it as a new machine. Okay. If there's anyone who's watching this and using a Linux distribution as your main OS, then you're already set. Then you're already kind of ready to go. All right. So you won't have to go through all this virtual stuff. All right. So let's see if I click start. Let's see what happens. Because I'm basically starting the machine up. And this may cause even bigger. So now I need to actually switch the sharing over here, because now it opened up a new window. I need to share that now. All right, so actually what you are seeing right now is just the window that's running my virtual machine that's running the CentOS operating system. And depending on how much RAM this thing's using, this could get interesting. Trying to think if there's another way we can do this. All right, so you'll see that when I installed this CentOS, I created two users. You don't have to do that, but a lot of the material, if I can't switch back, unfortunately, to the other window, I may share the whole desktop here in a minute, but a lot of the material is based on this user called student. There's no requirement that you use a user called student, but to keep with the same stuff, that the material, the HTML resources that I directed you to, and the student handbook, the student workbook, to keep with the same language that it uses, I created this student. And right now, the password for student is a very bad password. It is also student. Wait a second. Good, I just typed it wrong. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share the whole screen instead. And I'm going to hope that it's not going to do bad things because I do that. All right, so now what you should be seeing is I have this over here. I have the student resources over here, and then I have my OS over here. All right. Okay. So what is going on with the mouse? Okay. So you can choose. Okay, what are you doing? It's not taking control of the mouse. That's not good. A lot of bugs to work out. This was not happening while I was only sharing that. Okay. Let me go back to not sharing the screen. Let me go back to just sharing that one window. If that works. Okay, that seems to work. Okay. You might be able to get Turkish in this. Let me see. Doesn't look like it. Well, unfortunately. Sorry. All right. So I'm initially setting up this for my student account. Okay. So now we're going to start using it. Okay. All right. So the main thing I want you to be able to get access to, the main thing that we're going to be using a lot will be this terminal window. Now, one thing I want to point out that I realized that I did not say a second ago. When I installed this operating system, when I installed CentOS, I installed it using a graphical user interface, okay, using a GUI option. CentOS and Red Hat, both the installation comes with that option to use a GUI, okay? A lot of what we're going to be talking about, though, is going to be using this terminal. Now, if you were to install without the GUI, the only thing that you would be able to see would be something like this. So if any of you have ever either used DOS or if you'd ever talked with your parents who may have used DOS, before Windows came along, before Windows, I think 3.1 was 3.0, 3.1 were like the first real main ones. We used DOS, which was just a command line tool. You weren't able to do mouse clicks and windows and having all these like windows to look at and fun stuff like that. So we all had to do text-based everything. So even your video games were a lot of text-based video games where it would be like you'd have to type walk north. Oh, and it would point out and it would say, oh, you see a goblin or something. What do you want to do? Type run, or you would type fight goblin or something like that. All right. So there wasn't a lot of these graphics that we have today. Okay. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing a lot of using the terminal, using a lot of command line commands to be able to get stuff done. Okay. So just as a simple example is we want to change our student password. Remember, our password was student, right? Our password was student. This is what our password was. We don't want it to be that anymore because that's too simple. That's too easy to guess, right? So now what we want to do is we want to be able to change passwords. So the way we do this is we say, okay, well, I'm going to use the password command, okay? So you take out the O and the R, and we just say password, passwd. Now, when we hit enter, it's going to say, okay, I want to change the password for this user, for student. Now, you type in the current password, so I type in SUDENT, hit enter, and now it's going to ask me for a new password. Now, if I do something like, I don't know, maybe I do university, right? it'll tell me, oh, that's a bad password. You can't do that. Now there are ways around that, because obviously this particular user, their password before now was student, which you would think, well, that should fail the dictionary check too, and it would, and it did. There are ways around that you can give a user a bad password. Okay, there are ways to make that happen, and we will talk about that later in this course. But for today, just know that when you go to change a password for a user, it will check to make sure that certain rules are followed. Okay, so some of those rules would be like, it has to have uppercase letters, it has to have numbers, it has to have lowercase letters. Okay, so I will go ahead and change it to the example in the HTML resources. All right, so it's capital T 3 S T 1 N G capital T 1 E. Right, and it's like taking the word testing time and changing the I's to ones, changing one of the E's to a 3, and capitalizing the T's. Okay, so now we need to type it again. All right, so now the password is changed. I won't do this right now, but what you could do is you could log out of this student. You could log out and then log back in and see that the password has been changed. Okay. So that's one simple thing. So some other commands is that you see in the that you'll see in the HTML resources when you get those would be the date command. Okay. I say date, right? It shows me what's today's date and time. Obviously, that is not the correct time here in Turkey. This is based on, I think, what is that? What would that be? That's New York. Okay, so it's thinking that we are in New York right now. That's probably something about the way that I set this particular operating system up. Okay. If you wanted to see the date in a specific format, we can give command line arguments. Okay. All right. So if we wanted to see what particular time is, right? So this would be displaying it in the hour, minute, second format in the AM PM. Okay. Right. And then there's some other examples in here of what we'll see. So if we wanted to see what type of file something is, so say the file command can tell us some information about files. Oh, that's just been clean. Must be a different. Let's see. Must be a file that doesn't that they must have created it for that particular thing. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's. Maybe it's called something else. Let's see. Clean. Yeah, they must not have it. Okay. All right. I won't spend too much time. I was trying to find a file we can use. Actually, you know what we can do? Okay. So we can say, well, okay, this Etsy password file is an ASCII text file. If we wanted to see, some information about this file. Okay. This way we get to see some information like its size. Okay. If we wanted to display the first 10 lines, the head command will tell us the first 10 lines. Now, one thing that I want to tell you, a little shortcut here, is sometimes we may do, with one particular file, we may do different activities, different commands with that same file over and over again. Or there may be some slight modifications to a previous command that we may want to do. If you're in the terminal window and you've run some commands, if you hit the up arrow, you can go back to a previous command. Okay. If you hit the up arrow again, you go back to the previous command before that, and you can keep doing that, all the way up, right? Now, in the down arrow, we'll go to the next one. So you see, if I go up, I get to that WC. That's this command I just did right here. If I do up again, I go File, which is this command I did right here. Now, if I hit the down arrow, I'll go back to that WC command. Okay, so sometimes we may want to say, okay, I don't want to retype, especially if like this file name right here, especially if it was like really, really long and a lot of typing. I don't want to have to retype that again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just say, okay, I'm going to do the up arrow to get to that. And then I'm just going to go back and change the one thing I don't want to be the same. So I'm going to use the head command, right, to see what the first 10 lines of that file are. So this is the first 10 lines of this file, this ASCII text file. Okay, just to let you know, this Etsy password file contains information about our user IDs. Okay, it contains information about the users of this system. Okay, one user that will always show up is this root user, and we'll talk some more in the coming weeks about why the root user is so special. I mean, many of you probably already know that, that the root user is a really, really important user, and don't play around with that. All right. Okay. What if you wanted to see the last 10 lines of a file? So if I look at, where was it? Where did it start? Right there, right there. Okay, so it started right there. So this is the last 10 lines. Okay. What you'll notice, what you may notice here is in these last 2 lines, especially of this file, is the JLaday user and the student user. So these are the 2 users that I've created. These are the last 2 users that I created. Okay. Now, if you can think back to your Java days, to when you were taking CSE 101, CSE 102, we talked a little bit about the command line argument, the command line to be able to run a Java file, right? You remember that to compile a file, you might say hello.java, right? What would this do? This was the command, right? Java compile. We want to compile a Java file, and this was an argument to that command. This was saying I want to, or this was the file we were using as the file name as a argument to this command. We want to compile this file, right? And then once the file was compiled, once the Java program was compiled, what did we do to run it? Because this didn't run it, this just compiled it. Right? So you took Java as the command, and you said, okay, run Java hello. Right? So that would run your Java program. Now, one of the things we talked about during that course was we talked about command arguments, where what if, remember that string args, maybe, do you remember all that? I hope you do. All right, where if there were things that needed to be put into that string array, you would, if it maybe was hello and you needed to put someone's name in here, right? Right, where this then became a command line argument that got passed to the main method of the hello Java program, and then it ran, right? Okay, the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because in the same way, okay, this tail is our command, just like Java or Java-C was our command. This is our file we want to show the last 10 lines of, right? But what if we don't want to show the last 10 lines? What if we want to show the last 20 lines? Okay, because 10 is good, but what if we want more, or what if we want less? What if we don't want just 10, right? Well, we can use a command line argument. Okay, so -n 20. Okay, let's take a look at that. So what this does is, if we say, okay, so if we look back to where that command was run, where was it? So that's head, that's tail, tail right here. Okay. So here is where our command was run. All right. So notice that now, instead of just the last 10 lines from that file, we're showing the last 20 lines from that file, because what we did was we said this is our command, tail, so the last something lines of this file. This is the file we want to display. This is an argument we want to pass. We want to say, okay, tail, but instead of 10, I want to show 20. Okay. So if we wanted to show less, and say we just wanted to show the last 3 lines, right? Notice that now we just see the last 3 lines. Okay. All right. One other thing I want to show you, one other command I want to show you, and then because again, you guys many of you don't have this on your computer, you don't have Linux installed yet. I don't want to get too deep into this this week, but we'll get really strong next week. Okay, the history command will show the last X number, the last commands that we've run. Notice, so if I were to hit the up arrow now, I'm going to go back cycling through all of these, right? So history, tail n -3, tail n -n3, tail -n20. What will come next? Think about it. Just the tail with the file, just the head with the file. If I go up one more, if I hit the up arrow again, I get this WC command and so forth. So this shows me what my history of commands has been. Okay. All right. So, oh, one other. Yeah, I guess I said that was it. One more. All right. Now, if we were just running the command line to exit, we could just type the exit command. What exit will do here, if we type the exit command here, what's going to happen is it's going to end this terminal. Okay, it's going to end this terminal window. Okay, so now it goes away. So now I no longer have that terminal window. I can open up terminal again, right? And it comes in here. Now if I look at history, okay, it's all still there. Okay, so it doesn't clear that out just because I exited that one session. Okay, but exit can get me out of here. I could click this X over here, that gets me out of there. There's lots of ways to get out of this terminal, okay? But one of the nice things is that we can open up a second, let's see, I can open up a second terminal window, right? And I can do different things here. So it's still the same. And one thing that we're going to see, not today, I won't get into it today, too deeply today, is that I can see what different folders here. So I can move into a folder, right? I can move away from the main folder that I'm in, the root folder that I'm in, and I can get into a different folder and do things down in here and have a separate window where I'm in I can have a separate window where I'm in a different folder. So here I'm in the downloads folder, here I'm in the documents folder. right? And I can do different things with the different windows. Okay, so we can use that. This is a big advantage over those old DOS days, the disk operating system days, where you could only have one terminal, you could only operate in one place, you could only do one, one terminal at a time. Now we can have different windows open that operate in different folders and do different things. Okay, so again, go ahead and get access to those HTML resources. Get out of here. Get out of here. I'll go ahead and shut this down. I'll switch back to mean. Back to my video. Okay. Go ahead and get those HTML resources. Install a Linux distribution of your choice. Like I said, the material for the course and the and what I'm going to be doing in the examples in the course are going to be heavily based on Red Hat and similar operating systems. So, if you don't have a flavor of Linux that you're already running and you're just learning for the first time, go ahead and install either Red Hat or CentOS, and then that way you'll be going along the same thing that we're doing. But if you're already running a different Linux OS, or if you're wanting to learn the same stuff on some other different operating system, it'll be a little extra work for you, but it's fine. The main thing is that you understand the concepts of what we're going to be going over, of how to manage this system. Okay. If there aren't any questions, and I'm hoping that there weren't too many more hiccups, there weren't too many more freezes and stuff like that once I switched to a different network. But we'll try to get that figured out and worked on, and hopefully it'll be more seamless next week. Okay. So, any questions, public or otherwise? No. All right. So what I'll do is I'll stop the recording. As soon as this video is done being processed, then it should